And welcome again to the big match. And as the teams come out for a rousing London derby game between Crystal Palace and Arsenal, it's probably the most controversial match of the whole season. In it, there's a penalty incident that had everybody arguing, and with the help of a camera behind the goal, we'll hope to clear up things during Jimmy Hill's analysis spot later in the programme. Also, Liverpool, the First Division leaders against Stoke City. That's a match decided with a goal in injury time. We take a good slice of that one. And a few snippets from our bonus match, which is Sheffield United against Everton. So, some great action again today, and we start back at Selhurst Park in the bright sunshine with referee Harry New of Bristol waiting for the arrival of the captains for the toss-up. First, it was Crystal Palace's Mel Blythe, skipper for the first time, and then Frank McClintock. Palace hard hit by injuries here. Fullback Paddy Mulligan is out, so too is goalkeeper John Jackson. 19-year-old Paul Hammond comes into goal, his second game, and Bobby Tambling continues in the attack. It's the side that finished with a 1-1 draw at Wolverhampton last week that at last has given everybody at the club a glimmer of hope for the future. And Palace's confidence will need to be high for the visit of Arsenal. And Frank McClintock has brought with him a side that is missing Alan Ball, who's just started a suspension. In his place is Eddie Kelly, his first game in the first team for 8 months. New faces abound here, among them for Crystal Palace, Ian Phillip, a defender and midfield man bought from Dundee. And of course Charlie Cook, after several seasons at nearby Chelsea. Arsenal too have been in the market. Jeff Blockley is their man. £200,000 from Coventry City, now an England cap. And as I say, it's the return of Eddie Kelly to Arsenal's midfield. The crowd seem to be coming back to football. This one of 35,000 now waits for the start. So it's down to Harry New, the referee from Bristol.
So Crystal Palace then kick off, defending the goal to our right in that white strip with the maroon and light blue stripe. Arsenal this afternoon in their second strip of yellow shirts with blue shorts. Long ball forward there, Charlie George, it went over McCormick's head. Rice to Kelly. Charlie George flicked on there nicely for Eddie Kelly, and Kelly might get a chance here as the Palace defence was stumbling for a moment. Mel Blythe to Tony Taylor, and Blythe again. George Graham beaten by Tambling, and it's this sort of hustling that Crystal Palace have got to look for this afternoon to try and hustle Arsenal out of their stride. Payne, Tambling's going on. But covered there by Jeff Blockley. David Payne with the throw for Crystal Palace. Payne turning it in again. And a shot by Hetzelwood, which was way off the target, and Rice bringing it away once more for Arsenal. Peter Storey. Too high for Radford, falling nicely for McCormick, and Cook putting it back to young Paul Hammond, who played his first game in the first team last week at Wolverhampton. Craven's header. Pinkney. Hinchelwood. Tambling. Hinchelwood again, a man who scored at Wolverhampton. They got him a 1-1 draw. Blockley getting it away. And Storey helping it on his way, but away not very conclusively. Marinello tussling there. And the throw given to Arsenal. Peter Storey with it. Back with Jeff Barnett. Another very good kick. Caught McNabb out, and Pinkney was there quickly to pounce, and McNabb recovering very quickly for Arsenal, as he needed to do. Cook to take the throw for Crystal Palace. Still strange seeing him in any other shirt than the blue of Chelsea. Craven. Cook. Phillip right up, and straight goal at Jeff Barnett. Ian Phillip, the former Dundee player. Marinello's header. Radford. Marinello again. Radford and Eddie Kelly. Had a troublesome injury, Kelly, and really hasn't. This is his first game for 8 months. McNabb Well stopped by Payne, but George Graham following up. Kelly once more. Tony Taylor getting it away only as far as Charlie George. He tried to turn that down for Marinello, and Marinello was very quickly in there to dispossess Tambling. McNabb. Graham had such a fine game for Scotland on Wednesday in Copenhagen, and now Charlie Cook. Well, that looked like obstruction by McClintock, but referee New decided that Charlie Cook kept possession, and so the game should continue. Rice to George Graham. A bit of gusty wind out there that may have stopped that ball getting through to Marinello. Pinkney turning it on for Craven. Charlie Cook to David Payne. The cross again, Craven going in. Craven now! Maybe a chance. Turning it back there for Hinchelwood. There was a chance for Crystal Palace there. And although Hinchelwood was off the mark, the number 10, he was thinking all the while. He saw that it was packed, and if anything, he had to try and chip it in. And he chipped it a shade too high for Crystal Palace. McCormick, Kelly. Rice. Again towards Charlie George, and again Mel Blythe beating him in the air. Now it comes for McNabb. Kelly. Graham. McClintock. Well, McClintock and McNabb was right up there, and that was obstruction by Pinkney on McNabb. Here's Hinchelwood. And a free kick then to Arsenal in what could be a very dangerous situation indeed for Crystal Palace. Hinchelwood and Cook in that wall, and Pinkney as well. Referee with his arm aloft indicating it's got to be an indirect free kick. Flick there for Charlie George to hit one just wide. A touch of no more than half a yard from George Graham to Charlie George. Taylor then for Crystal Palace. Quarter of an hour gone, no score. Throw to Palace. Tony Taylor. Craven. Strong fellow and very often underrated. And there's Taylor turning another one in. Barnett was shouting for that, and Blockley allowing it to go over his head into the arms of Barnett. Graham. Rice. Graham again. Rice. Charlie George going for it. That was his header. Oh, and there was a misunderstanding there. Radford has got time to tee it up. And a handball, and he could do nothing else by Hinchelwood on the line. And that's going to be a penalty. But that was a misunderstanding in the defence when the goalkeeper was coming for it. And Radford had time to choose his spot. And Hinchelwood had to handle that off the line. And I think Harry New was quite right not to book him for deliberately handling. The punishment surely is enough. That Arsenal get the penalty, and the referee just going there to make sure that Paul Hammond stays on the line, must not move before the kick is taken, and it's Charlie George who's going to take it. Are Arsenal going ahead? No! No! Yes, the goal has been given. That must have fractionally cost the line. That must have fractionally cost the line. The whole of the ball must be across the line. Harry New, the referee, looked at his linesman, and the linesman had his flag pointing towards the middle. And so Paul Hammond in that Crystal Palace goal, who looked as though he'd somehow kept it out after the ball had hit the post, couldn't stop Charlie George from putting Arsenal ahead. Free kick now to Crystal Palace. McClintock not happy with that decision and calling, the referee's calling Frank McClintock to him. So poor old Paul Hammond, only 19 from Nottingham, in his second first-team game. It looked as though he'd managed for a moment to stop that going across the line, but the linesman was directly in line. Cook now with the free kick. Craven right in there. Blythe right in there, and a marvellous save by Barnett from Blythe, fisting that one away. Blythe still right in there. Craven going in too. Payne hoping to turn it back, and finally McNabb turning it away for the throw. So the two sides of goalkeeping, because that really was a marvellous save by Jeff Barnett, troubled there by the sun, and it's coming from that direction again now as Cook takes possession for Crystal Palace. Tambling, Phillip, Hinshelwood going in, the man who handled on the line and wanting to get one back. But there's Hinshelwood. But there really has come a change over Jeff Barnett's goalkeeping, so authoritative now. Taylor. Cook's gone right in there. Cook with a header and another save by Barnett. What a brilliant run by Charlie Cook though, number 11. Came in from nowhere there, and a good piece of work by Barnett at the other end. Taylor. And Barnett again. Nobody more relieved, I suppose, than Steve Burtonshaw in the middle there, that Arsenal look as though they're going in at half-time leading anyhow. Sammy Nelson, the substitute on the left. And Arsenal, I would think, just a little relieved in their own way, because they've lost their last 3 away games at Newcastle, Norwich and Sheffield United in the league. Maybe they felt they might have been just a little bit vulnerable this afternoon in spite of Palace's league appearance. Hammond going down well, and so too is John Radford. Not so well or happily. And Fred Street on very quickly to administer some help. We've already played just over a minute of injury time, and in fact the whistle has gone for half-time, with the players going off and Radford still on the field and injured. And 2 or 3 of the Arsenal players going towards him. Here's John McCormack coming off. And so that's how we stand at half-time then here at Selhurst Park, but still a lot for you to come on the big match for you to enjoy this afternoon. But we leave you at Selhurst Park with a half-time score that reads Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 1, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes for the second half. So John Radford then fit to start the second half, with Arsenal leading by a goal to 0. And Crystal Palace, knowing really what defeat is all about in their last 9 games, 8 of them being defeats, and then they had that one draw at Wolverhampton last Saturday. But their first half form was at least a little bit of encouragement for them. They were fighting hard and tackling well. And here's Marinello now for Arsenal. Nice curling pass there to Story, in turn for Rice. Kelly to Rice. And now George Graham. McNabb. Marinello. And a throw to Crystal Palace. Here's Peter Marinello. Taylor. And Radford beating him. Blythe. Turned there for Hinshelwood. McCormick a little stab through there for Phillip, and back for Payne. And then played for Pinkney, and turned in nicely for Cook. There's a good piece of play there by Crystal Palace, and Pinkney looks as though he got a knock there from McNabb, but it's with Charlie Cook now for Crystal Palace. Floating one there to Craven. And a throw to Crystal Palace, off McNabb. Tambling. Philip. And Payne, I don't think he'll keep that in. Yes, he has. But it's now a throw to Crystal Palace. And Payne was running before even Cook had picked the ball up, and they've got a corner. Kelly forced into that situation by the running of David Payne, and the crowd now beginning to build up again behind Crystal Palace. Tambling looks as though he might try and in-swinger with that left foot. Blythe right in there, Craven in there, and a goal! John Craven has got to be credited with it, but it's the equaliser. 1-1, and with all their fight and perseverance, it's just about what Crystal Palace deserved. John Craven's rear shot, half stopped on the line, but not completely stopped, and 1-1 it is. So John Craven makes it 1-1. And now the crowd really beginning to go. Marinello for Arsenal. And Tambling back. And he's given it to Radford. And that's it. Tambling's back pass. And within a minute, Crystal Palace have given away the lead, or rather the situation of being all square, when Tambling's back pass played Radford onside, and he made no mistake. Well, a tragedy there for Crystal Palace. When you're down, everything seems to kick you. Hinchelwood now for Crystal Palace. What a good ball there to Tony Taylor. Very good ball by the youngster. Taylor quite fairly obstructed. And so a free kick to Crystal Palace, obstructed by Rice. Took up a good position down the left there, but a very good ball by Hinchelwood that sought him out. So all the big men are up there now. Blythe has gone right in. Having trouble with the sun still, though, as Taylor takes this free kick. Blythe leading him all the way, and he was no more than a foot wide. Slightly firmer header, and that could well have just gone inside that far post. Jeff Barnett then with the goal kick for Arsenal. Pinkney trying to dummy McNabb. Payne. And a throw to Crystal Palace. Craven. Charlie Cook with the throw. Craven leaning on Blockley, forcing Blockley to turn that away into touch. Another Palace throw. David Payne. Charlie Cook. And a corner. Well, the last time they had a corner they scored. And this time Blythe is going right up. McCormick is right up there. Charlie George has come back, and indeed there's only one person just outside that area now. That's Tony Taylor. A long one again, and Barnett has got it, and he's lost it. And McClintock hustling it away as far as Tony Taylor, the one man who'd been left behind. Kelly, McClintock, Rice, Radford, and Charlie George, but now Blythe for Crystal Palace. Philip, Cook, with Payne again going down the right for him, and Pinkney there as well. Payne with plenty of time to make the cross, a good one towards Bobby Tambling, and And now for Hinchelwood, and a fine save again by Barnett. So Palace are still very much in the hunt. Philip. And now for Taylor. Another long cross. Craven again winning this one. George Graham. Blythe. And now Payne for Cook. Wanting Pinckney to go further down the wing. Still with Cook. Dancing and weaving, and he led George Graham a bit of a dance there. Inside now for Payne. Played first time as Cook goes on. But McClintock covering for Arsenal, and Arsenal getting a throw. I'm just wondering, with Palace this goal down, how quickly they'll be probably influenced in bringing on Bobby Kellard, such an inspiration for them. I'm a bit surprised to find him as no more than substitute this afternoon. Charlie George with a backward header. George Graham trying to get in there too. Palace, in fact, rallied very well in that penalty area. Charlie Cook. John McCormick. Cook again. Taylor over on his left. That's the wall for Taylor. Tambling. Getting past McClintock and turning, and Blockley covering well there for Arsenal. Hinchelwood hoping to get on it, and so too is Philip. Tambling once more. And again that cross, curling away towards Craven once more, who really does seem to be very useful in the air and causing Arsenal one or two problems there. So often when those long crosses come in, it's Craven who's winning the ball. Charlie George getting in behind that defence. So little backlift or effort about that shot. It was high, but it was very powerful. So waiting for the ball to come back is goalkeeper Paul Hammond, in for John Jackson, who, when he was injured and missed last week's game, it broke a run of 222 successive league games for Crystal Palace. Hammond waited so patiently for his chance. Hinchelwood, Craven, and now Story. Taylor. Hinchelwood this time trying to get in behind Blockley. Did Blockley handle it? Well, Crystal Palace certainly thought he did. His back was to the cameras, but not to Harry New, and Harry New saw something else and has given Arsenal the free kick. Charlie George, Payne, oh, and he missed his kick and he recovered in time. And finds Tambling. Palace coming forward again. Inside for Hinchelwood, and nicely inside again for Philip. Played wide, right across the line now for Tony Taylor. Hoping to get on the outside of Rice, which he's done. He did it very well. McNabb getting it as far as Radford. In goes Payne, and again Payne gets there first and finds Hinchelwood. The flick outside for Pinckney, and it's too far. Martin Hinchelwood, got a brother on the Crystal Palace staff as well, an apprentice, Paul. Father was a professional too, so it's quite a footballing family. So Barnett, who's had more to do than Hammond in this second half, with the kick. Payne again. Craven. Cook. And Arsenal are really being pressed at the moment by the plucky performance of Crystal Palace. Cook to Pinckney. Still with Alan Pinckney, and then a nice little back heel by George Graham, allowing Blockley to get it away. But not a particularly good clearance again. It only goes as far as Blythe. Tambling in. Oh, a nice little chance here now for Craven, and he's done it. 2-2. 2-2. John Craven, his second goal. Flicked on very nicely for him, and Tambling had a big part in it, and he'll feel better for that, leaving Craven the chance to plant it wide of Jeff Barnett, and 2-2 is the score. So now a very much better second half, and it's really wide open again as Marinello for Arsenal. Radford, Charlie George right in there. Blythe, and away into touch. So it really now becomes quite a derby game as Radford takes another long throw. Out as far as Kelly. And now for McNabb. Turned in again. And Rice. Yes! Pat Rice! Palace thought he was offside, and they're going to hound the referee. They are arguing with the referee, and they're persuading him to go and have a word with the linesman. And it's a good goal. Pat Rice's goal counts. And so it becomes 3-2. So twice in this magnificent second half we've had Crystal Palace clawing their way magnificently back into the game, and twice within a matter of a minute or so the advantage has been lost to Arsenal. Cook once more, tumbling right in there. Tremendous game of football now. Marinello. George Graham. And McCormick in very quickly and very severely and too fiercely for the referee, giving Arsenal the free kick. Well, Steve Burtonshaw will know that his Arsenal side have really been in a game this afternoon. They can afford to smile and relax just a little now, maybe. He spotted George Graham, who'd come up very quickly, but so too had David Payne. Now, Pinkney versus McNabb, with Cook in support for Pinkney. And here's Charlie Cook. Hamling's gone on a run for him. That one's aimed more towards Craven, but Barnett handled it, and handled it well. Well, his kicking wasn't all that good, but then maybe he'd spotted the fact that Eddie Kelly was down in need of a bit of treatment, and so Jeff Barnett put it into touch to give the trainer a chance to come on. So Eddie Kelly hobbles off, and that means that Sammy Nelson, the substitute, is coming on. And Hinshaw really hadn't noticed. He'd heard obviously Taylor going up behind him, but wasn't aware that Marinello was there as well. And so it's going to be a throw now to Crystal Palace. On my watch now, we're in the last minute, plus a little bit of injury time. And another throw to Crystal Palace. And another throw to Crystal Palace. Craven inside for McCormick. Hinshelwood. And Story got in there to tuck that one away. But still Palace coming forward in this last minute or so. Everybody bar their goalkeeper in the Arsenal half of the field. Blythe right in there now. A back heel for Taylor to turn it in once more towards John Craven, and Blockley up so well. Now Marinello. George Graham. And the Crystal Palace bench have pretty desperate moments then for them, knowing that there are just a few seconds left. But here at Palace now with David Payne, letting one fly, and a fraction wide. Barnett a little annoyed that he didn't get the cover that he thought perhaps he warranted at that point. And Payne really was no more than a couple of feet away from that equalising goal that Crystal Palace so desperately want. We're now in injury time. Hinchelwood turned back for Taylor. Cook's right in there. And so too was Craven, and so too was Blockley. Payne going in once more. George Graham. Marinello. And that's the end of a very fine second half in the derby game, which brings a victory for Arsenal in spite of 2 goals for Crystal Palace by John Craven, who fought so hard. Charlie George with a penalty that set Arsenal on their way. John Radford added a second one after that bad back pass, and Pat Rice scored the winner for Arsenal. And so a derby game that took some time to get into its stride, really provided a lot of entertainment in the second half, and a final scoreline at Selhurst Park that reads Crystal Palace 2, Arsenal 3.
So, controversy all the way in that excellent game, and we should be clearing up some of it a little later on. But first is Charlie Cook. With so many new faces in the Crystal Palace side, have they time enough to mould a successful team?
I don't think time is a fact at the present, right now, because we're not even halfway through the season yet, and at the same time, I don't think there's enough lot of difference between good sides and mediocre sides or struggling sides. I think the line is very sort of marginal, and if you can just get over it once, you're encouraged.
But Palace fans looking at you now will be saying, we're at the bottom of the table, are we going to get away? What would you say to them?
Well, they're entitled to feel that way, but I think for the first time since I've been here, and I think most of the guys would agree, the first time for a few months, we really heard the crowd behind us. They were really excited after we got back in level terms twice, and although they were silenced quite quickly twice, I think that was really encouraging for all of us.
Charlie, you mentioned giving away those 3 goals or contributing to them. It all began with a penalty and some doubt as to whether it crossed the line in some people's minds. What about you?
Well, I personally thought perhaps it was over, but a couple of the guys nearer the goal line thought we might have had a slim chance of claiming it wasn't. I don't think it's worth at this time arguing about it. It's one of these strokes of luck that you get when you seem to be down, but we'll give it to them.
Well, that's one of the controversial points that we shall look at now. In fact, a couple of newspaper headlines today have rather set it up. The News of the World says, ref goes in the dock. Judge him on TV, say Palace. And in the Sunday Mirror, Long, that's Terry Long, the assistant manager at Crystal Palace, seeks TV justice. Now let's go across to Jimmy Hill.
I don't think it's our place to put the referee in the dock, and I do know that the FA or Football League assessor at the game thought that the officials did pretty well in yesterday's match. But let's look first of all at that penalty decision, because without any doubt it was so unlucky for Palace, so unlucky because Paul Hammond made such a brave attempt to save the kick and so nearly did it. But we take it first of all from our normal angle. There we can see Charlie George running up to strike it. He gets the left hand to it, Hammond. The ball bounces back. He turns, sees there a danger of the ball going across the line. It hasn't gone over the line at this point, and of course you can see from that angle we really can't get an idea of whether the ball was over or not. So what we do, all the facilities of television at your disposal, we now take a look at our camera, or from our camera, behind the goal, and see whether, once again, there's a lovely shot there of George Graham sympathising with the keeper. Now, from behind the goal, the left hand touches the ball. It's not over the line yet. Remember, the whole of the ball has to be over the line for it to be a goal. And we're stopping it now, frame by frame. There's the ball. And there's the line. Hammond screeching across there to try and keep it out. Was that the moment where it was over? Or was that the moment where it almost went over? Frame by frame, science at our disposal, and you can still see what a tight decision that was. I must say, I wouldn't like to be a referee or a linesman judging in those circumstances in a flash on the spur of the moment. If you ask me what really happened, I would say we need help from above, really, to decide whether that was a goal or not. But what about the second goal? Now, this was more of a clear-cut decision, one that could easily be interpreted as a result of knowledge of the laws. Really, the question was it dangerous play? Did John Radford put his foot up, and was that foot dangerous? Well, I think he solves it by putting it up and pulling it down so quickly there that the goalkeeper wasn't in any danger. One could say, of course, there's a shot of him just diving to head the ball in the net, that had the goalkeeper really dived into that outstretched foot, he would have created a situation where it was dangerous and maybe saved the goal. But as it stood, I thought the referee was right there. What about the other one, the last one? This was a linesman's decision, an offside decision. Was, in fact, Pat Rice offside when George Graham headed the ball on? There's the ball coming in the air, and you can see we stop it now as the ball's just about to touch Graham's head. You can see the far Arsenal player there, who is Pat Rice. Look at the Palace centre-half in the middle, McCormack, his position outside the box, and I think you will see that there's more than a suspicion that Rice had broken ahead of that line of white Crystal Palace defenders at the moment that ball was played. So there we are, 3 decisions. And how are we going to put the referee in the dock? Well, from my view, and it was a different angle, I must emphasise, from the one the referee saw things from, I would say he was right on one, he was wrong on one, and as I said before, I think we need help from above to decide the third one. So much for that. But what about Crystal Palace? There's no doubt that they were very unlucky not to get a point yesterday, and I might have thought they could have got 2 points from the way that they played. From the last time I saw them at Tottenham, there's so much more enthusiasm, so much more skill, and bright hope for them for the future. They've still got a battle on their hands, but I think they might well come out on top, or not on top, but at least not going down into second division. Arsenal, one has to judge them by different standards because they are championship contenders. I was disappointed with them in the second half. I was disappointed with their 3 strikers, Radford, Marinello and Charlie George, because so often when the defence needed a breather and played the ball up to them, all they wanted was for the movement to be kept going to take the strain off the defence, and so often all 3 players tried to do something spectacular instead of keeping the movement going and resting their defence. I just use an illustration of Charlie George because it was in the 45th minute in the game when Palace were striving so hard to get an equaliser. Arsenal were in possession of the ball, really trying to rest themselves and not give the ball away. The ball's up to George, and there's really an inaccurate pass and a bad pass because it gave the ball to Palace at that point and enabled them to put that last bit of pressure on Arsenal. Really, the 3 strikers, when they were needed in the second half, looked powder-puff players to me. That is judged by championship standards. So Arsenal have got to improve on that if they're going to chase the Liverpools and Leeds of this world and win that championship.
Jim, I think you're sliding off the hook a bit about that penalty. From my commentary position, that looked as though it didn't cross the line. I was surprised when the goal was given. From the camera behind the goal that we've just seen, I would again have doubts. Your opinion, though, if you'd been there, would you have given a goal or what?
My opinion, from my angle, only one opinion, it wasn't a goal.
Well, we got a decision there in any case in the end. And 2 other things I would just like to say about that Crystal Palace-Arsenal match before we left. You may have seen in your morning papers that an Arsenal supporter ran onto the pitch after a goal was given. We deliberately cut that out today. We felt that it really wasn't adding anything to the afternoon, and why should we give him the pleasure of seeing himself doing rather a silly thing? And the other thing about it is the News of the World, which was very hard on the referee, and I'm sure they were quite sincere in their belief that the referee had made 1 or 2 mistakes there. I would remind them that referees are only human, and it seems that blokes in newspaper offices are only human as well. Look at that caption under that Radford goal. Radford gives Jackson the old 1-2, which is all very well, except that John Jackson wasn't in the Crystal Palace goal yesterday. Of course, it was Paul Hammond. Our bonus match today gives us another chance to look at the recovery of Everton this season. Yesterday they were away to Sheffield United, where the pictures come from Yorkshire Television, where the commentator is Keith Macklin. Everton here in the light shirts.
Aiming that towards Holmes. The flag up against Woodward for offside, but the referee ignores it. Holmes. A goal in the first minute. The linesman had flagged for offside against Woodward, and the Everton players are going to appeal. Holmes, the man who scored in the first minute, And this may be disallowed because the referee is going across to the linesman. This could still be disallowed. Players being ordered away, a dramatic opening. The linesman had his flag up. It's offside and the goal does not stand.
Ahead of Goulding, finding Holmes. Oh, a good cross. Headed away by Hurst. Badger. Goulding for Holmes, and a good quick sliding tackle by Newton. Well, a good lively opening by Sheffield United, as indeed they opened the first half. Badger. Aiming for Warboys.
Oh, it's a tremendous effort that was by Goulding. A magnificent shot. Steve Goulding hitting that left foot and hitting the angle. A great effort.
Curry for Sheffield United, they've been doing most of the work in the opening stage of the second half. That's a good ball flicked on by Badger for Holmes. Kendall is back there. Oh, Royal seeming to jump too early, but he got the ball. Royal, a good one meant for Whittle. What a beautiful ball! And it's going to be there. The second attempt, McAllister did manage to stop the first one, but Whittle puts Everton in the lead. Again, the Royal Whittle move. Royal flicking it through, Whittle taking it on, and although Tom McAllister charged down the first effort, Whittle got it in on the second attempt. So Everton go into a lead.
Well, it was a lead they held to win by 1-0. Now it's time for your letters, and last week's Coventry-Manchester City match provoked quite a mailbag for us. G. Isom, chairman of the Bristol branch of the Referees Association, believes that Rodney Marsh was offside before he scored Manchester City's first goal.
Well, Mr. Isom, I believe so too when I first saw it, but on closer inspection I think you'll agree with me that he was clearly onside. As the ball bounces back then, this was the picture we saw to start with, and he looks offside. But now look to right of the picture and you'll see Chris Catlin, the Coventry fullback, slow coming off his line, slow to play him offside, and that's why it was a fair goal.
Well, also in that game, Alan Casey of 13 Wolsey Avenue, Walthamstow, London E17, claims that when Willie Carr was booked, he was retaliating because Rodney Marsh, far from rubbing Carr's head in a sporting fashion as it seemed, actually twisted the Coventry player's ear. Well, was that something we missed last week, or did we?
I think Carr's name was taken for the push that came first. There's the push, and that's why his name was taken. Rodney doesn't like it, he sprawls on the ground. Obviously he's very annoyed and he wants to get his revenge, but you can't do it in full view of the referee unless you disguise it by a supposed friendly gesture. What better than a pat on the head, which turns into a strong pull of the hair as you see Carr's head go back. It's very frustrating when you're annoyed. That's Rodney's way of getting out of those frustrating circumstances.
And now thanks then for Alan Casey for picking it up for us. Well, our last match today is also full of good action. It's the First Division leaders, Liverpool, against Stoke City. The match that was won, in fact, right at the end in injury time. 45,000 fans were at Anfield for it, along with Granada's cameras and commentator Gerald Sinstadt. Liverpool here are in the dark shirts.
Pull back for Keegan. Hughes calling for it. Callaghan! He thought he'd found it. That's 2 pops he's had, and he's been pretty close both times. Skills looking for Conroy, who was offside. Whistle has gone. It hasn't gone. Mr. Kirkpatrick had his hand up. It was just an acknowledgement to his linesman. And now he's given a free kick to Stoke. Dennis Smith going forward for Stoke as Marsh shapes to take the free kick. Greenoff running in from the edge of the box. Come to Hurst. Greenoff! Liverpool all in a tangle, but the goal stands. I really don't think they've any grounds to complain. Greenoff is injured. This is how it came, against the bar by Hurst and nodded in by Greenoff, and that's 1-0 to Stoke. And it's Liverpool who kick off this second half. Stoke in the white shirts. Bursma to Highway. Hughes. Lindsay's cross, and Cormac was coming in on it. Greenoff to Dobing. Pejic. Lawler's header, intercepted by Skeels. Hughes for Bursma. He's over Smith's tackle and gets the ball out to Highway. Two men waiting for this cross. Cormac! How did Bursma put it over? That may well have been outside the box. Banks has been using the full extent of his area, and that time he overdid it. No, from where it's given, it must have been more than 4 steps. The linesman certainly didn't put his flag up, and he usually checks on whether the keeper carries the ball outside the box, so it must have been for more than 4 steps. And Dobing saw that coming, but the referee was not satisfied that everyone was 10 yards off the ball. He wasn't ready, so the kick will be taken once again. It's indirect. For Hughes. Yes! By my watch, just over a minute left. Pushing by Hurst. Free kick to Liverpool. Tommy Smith to Lawler. Callaghan. Bursma just behind him. Banks again, it's a funny old punch and he'll have to try again, he's got it. Less than half a minute now. Greenoff. Greenoff trying to play it back. Cormac. Callaghan. We're now in injury time as Tommy Smith comes forward. Banks absolutely perfectly positioned. Hurst holding the ball while support comes forward. Greenoff, Marsh, and now Highway is clear. Nobody in the middle, he's got to keep going. And that was Robertson to the rescue. But the whistle had gone for a foul beforehand. Free kick to Liverpool. This must be the last chance. 40 seconds of injury time already played. Hughes to Callaghan, who lets go. When it came, it was so simple. Just see how easy it is. no time taken, just rolled to Callaghan, first time, and voila! And after another half a minute's play, Liverpool squeeze away, and there is a very happy man in Ian Callaghan, who did it for them in the last few seconds when it looked as though all was over. Liverpool extend their run of consecutive victories at Anfield to 18, make certain of retaining their place at the top of the First Division, having beaten Stoke City by 2-1. Gordon Banks not too pleased about it. Ray Clements calming him down, and Banks now, it's all over. A pack for his opposite number, Ray Clements. So the end of a very, very dramatic game at Anfield.
But a cruel deflection there that winged its way past Gordon Banks from Ian Callaghan's shot. Well, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed it. It does seem that we've picked up several mistakes today. Mistakes by the players, of course, perhaps the odd mistake from the referee as well, and indeed a mistake in a newspaper caption. And it does seem that the only people who haven't made mistakes are us. Good morning.
George is going to take it. Are Arsenal going ahead? No! No! Yes, the goal has been given. That must have fractionally crossed the line.